Good morning, everybody. We will start with initial lecture, initial text here to harmonize all of us. It comes from the book Living Spring, psychography of oh my God, Chico Xavier, Xavier. It is not the best, so bear with me. Concerning the work of salvation, for God did not appoint us to suffer wrath, but to receive salvation through our Lord Jesus Christ. Paul, first letter to the Thessalonians, chapter 5, verse 9. Why are we not understood? What is the reason for the loneliness that invades our lives? What are the reasons for the problems that surround us? Why so much darkness and bitterness surrounding our footsteps? In each such question, we ask ourselves, is usually followed by desperation and rebelliousness. And under lethal waves of anger, we claim favors that we think we are owed to us. We say we are disappointed in our family, forsaken by our friends, misunderstood by our colleagues, and even persecuted by our brothers and sisters. Lethal intemperance brings to our innermost being the thorns of disenchantment and peerless organic imbalance, turning our lives into a rosary of lazy, sickly complaints. This happens, however, because the Lord has not appointed us to the dark prince of wrath, but to work of salvation. No one can work into the darkness of disorder. No one can help by continuously continually harming others for the sheer pleasure of harming. No one can bless one's daily chore by choosing them at the same time. No one can be both a friend and a tormentor. If you have received notice of the gospel in the world of your soul, then prepare yourself to help infinitely. school, earth is our school and our worship. Mankind is our family. Each day is a blessed opportunity of learn and to help. No matter how bad our situation may be, always strive to be helpful and supportive, and you will be involved in the blessed work of salvation to which the Lord has called us. So let us pray. Can I turn off the light? Thank you. Dear Father, we're grateful for being here today. We're grateful for everybody that joined us today in this blessed meeting. Looking forward, love, looking forward, our self-development. Eternal Father, please enlighten our meeting. All the efforts we made to be here today, please enlighten our souls in this daily reflection so that we understand a little bit more about charity. What about Jesus taught us about this beautiful virtue? And then we start practicing it, following our model and guide. May we have a blessed meeting, and all of us here today be kindly blessed. So be it. Well. Thank you very much. Can you turn off the music, please? Let me just put this guy on silent mode. Okay. The Master and the Apostle, learning charity from them. Our meeting today is based on the Gospel of Matthew, the Gospel according to Spiritism, and the Spirit's book. And our reflection today is going to be mainly focused in our virtue of the month. As most of you understand, every month we have a virtue that we will either work in here in our meetings, or we work with children and kids on the other rooms, or any other activity. So this specific day is the second day of December, and charity is always a good subject to talk about during December. As December is so easy month to be charitable, right? But do we truly understand what is charity? Do we practice according to the teachings of the Master or the Apostle? And to be clear, we are talking about here, or for sure, the Master is Jesus, and the Apostle are there. So we are looking forward to reflect a little more and understand the deeper meaning of the maxim, without charity, there is no salvation for the Spiritist societies. Have you ever heard about this maxim? Where? You want to share with us, Priscilla? Where did you hear about this maxim?
Every Spiritism student.
We talk a lot on the Spiritism about it, right? It all comes in this book, The Gospel According to Spiritism. There is a full chapter talking about it. And the chapter is the chapter 15th. Without charity, there is no salvation. And it came across a teaching from a spirit called Paul. Yeah, the same Paul that has been an apostle of Jesus back in the first centuries. So in the one of the messages of the book, he mentioned about it. And basically, because in the past, as you probably remember, there was another maxim very related to this one. Do you remember which was this maxim? No? It was exactly like this. Without something, there is no salvation.
Church, there's no salvation.
Or out of the church, there is no salvation.
Just one question.
Sure.
If somebody that doesn't know anything about spiritism, if they read that without charity there is no salvation, I think there is still you automatically think of traditional religions, right? Like you already, even if it's very close without church there is no salvation, you automatically think about the way all the traditional religions.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So your point is, if someone doesn't understand Spiritism, will read this passage and think about it's all related to church, because the church is where we practice charity.
A little bit, but I would just think that if another word would fit not replace, but will translate more of the connection with our eternal beings instead. Because like when you think about salvation, you automatically think about, it's like you do this and you already got your.
Oh, you mean the bargain?
Yes.
Yeah, the negotiation with God. Okay, I do a charity, and then I get salvation. It's all about it.
Yeah.
But what is charity? That's my point here. What is charity? Is charity just go there and give bread to the poor people? Is this charity?
The concept of charity is doing something without expecting anything back. You know, charity is how you act in your love, because love without actions is dead. You aren't growing up with it. The way you act and the things you love become the charity.
That's good. We are starting with good reflection today, because our goal is to answer this question: what Spiritism talks about it, what the Gospel talks about it. But I really appreciate your thoughts, and hopefully by the end we can open a discussion like this one again, and then we check if our view is the same. Oh my gosh, that clock's really late. I wish it was on time. Anyways, for a start, let's bring some reflections. Do you believe in salvation? Do you believe the salvations is in Spiritism, or the salvation is in Spiritism? Do you feel the power of salvation within yourself, within you? And do you understand what is the true meaning of charity? All these questions, all these reflections, we would like to try to answer today. But for sure, all of them are introspective, so each one of us will do its inner reflection. But by the end, hopefully, we will have a better clarity what Spiritism talks about it, or the Gospel. So to start, let's talk about a beautiful passage that is in the Gospel. So in Matthew chapter 7, it starts like this on item or verse 9. Which of you is your son, if your son asks for bread, will give him a stone? Or if he asks for a fish, will you give him a snake? If you then thought you are evil, know how to give good things to your children, how much more will your Father in heaven give good gifts to those who ask him? This is a beautiful passage because basically brings us to reflection. If we don't do bad things to our own children, would our bigger Father, all of us, Father, would give us a stone instead of bread, or give us a snake instead of fish? It's talking about the loving presence of God in our life, the divine justice, right? Because if we are just with our children, how come a supreme justice would be unfair with us? Doesn't make much sense. But after this part comes really the reflection we will do today, because the verse 12 says, so in everything do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. Have you ever heard this passage before? Do to others what you would have them do to you. Is there a special name for this quote? Or this maxim? Because was Jesus the first one to say it? Do to others what you would then do to you. Would have them do to you, sorry. This is also called the golden rule, and many other have said before and after Jesus. But what is the difference between Jesus and them saying this? And mainly they didn't say in the same way. There are some variances, like help the others as you want them, as you would like them to have helped you, and things like those variances. But what is the difference between Jesus and the others?
Jesus lived it. We can see in his life he was doing it.
Yes, that's exactly the point. Although everybody else tries to do in its best, there was just one who mastered it. Just one who did really practice it in a master way. And this sums up what we call charity from the point of view of the master. Because when you see the actions of Jesus, he was always practicing it in every single action. He was living it, because charity is a virtue. And as an enlightened being as he is, and he was already during that time, he already achieved the most what we can ask or develop of this virtue. So he was a true charitable person or spirit. And in the Gospel according to Spiritism, there is a beautiful reflection about this. While the maxim, without charity there is no salvation, is based in the universal principle and gives all God's children access to the supreme happiness. The dogma, without the church there is no salvation, is based not upon fundamental faith in God and the immortality of the soul, a faith common to be all religions, but instead upon the special faith in a particular dogma. This is a big reflection that Kardec makes. He basically is telling us that this maxim that's brought from the spirit of Paul tells us this universal principle of doing to others what we would then have them do to us. And without that, there is no salvation. But it's still not very clear what is shared, is it? I will keep going. When Kardec places charity as a principle of salvation, not Spiritism, not a church, not a Spiritist society, or not a Spiritist center, not the Spiritist movement, he is calling attention to the fact that salvation happens within the creature, not outside praxis, and that everyone has access to it, since it's independent of any kind of belief. So do I need to be Spiritist to be charitable? No, that is the first point. Because in the previous quote that we saw, without the church, there is no salvation, we assume that, okay, if I am not, let's say, Jewish or Catholic or whatever, Muslim, I will be damned to burn in hell or whatever, because I want to be saved. So this brings something that every one of us can achieve. And this is very important, because in Spiritism, it is common to find people confusing charity with beneficence, which beneficence, in other words, material charity, in which we practice philanthropy with, in fact, is only one aspect of charity. This confusion is really common. And why does it happen? Why do you think we confuse material charity or beneficence instead of the true meaning of charity? Or maybe this quote is wrong. Do you think this quote is wrong? No, beneficence is the pure charity or philanthropy.
Yes, it's easier to give money and feel that you did charity than to really study it and see that's a lot more complicated than that. People usually tend to go to the easier path.
Yes. And this is a good point, because are these people well-intentioned or not? Are they willing to help the other? Most of the time, yes. There are some times of that bargain that Danilo said, like, I have to do that work, give the soup to the poor, because then I will find peace in my life. There's a little bit confusion, but it happens. But most of the time, people are well-intentioned. But What is the problem then? Why are they're not finding the salvation? Why are they not finding the true charity? Hmm? Oh, maybe they don't know the truth. I gotta remind you that charity is not just a virtue, but is also something else very important. What is the big law? The main law, which is in the Spirit's book. Love, charity, and justice. So there is a law of love, law of charity, and law of justice. These three laws, we will see a little later about this, but they are inseparable. And the importance of understanding truly this law brings us, okay, I am well-intentioned, now I am well-directed, I'm following the right path, because sometimes I can be very well-intentioned, but I am missing totally the target, missing totally. And this is a virtue also that we call discernment. If we understand fully something, we will make good choices. Okay, I will give the bread. I will work in the soup, yes, but I will understand that's not just that. Why I'm saying this? Because in the question 886, the Spirit's book, there is, Kardec says, what is the true meaning of the word charity as Jesus understood it? And this is the big point of our meeting here today. Because if we don't understand well what the Spirit's answer in this question, we might be missing the target. We might be not very well directing our good intention. And the answer, does anybody know what is the answer? Okay. Benevolence toward everyone, indulgence toward the imperfection of others, and forgiveness for offenses. Well, that is a little bit harder and way more elaborated than just thinking, okay, it's just benevolence. Yeah, benevolence is part. And I'm not just talking about material benevolence, because giving something, helping the other in the need of material things, is one little piece of benevolence, which we will usually call philanthropy, right? We will do some work to help. But benevolence can work many other ways. Do you have any ideas how we can be benevolent?
Being nice to people, smile, hearing when they need it.
Exactly. Treating others as I want them to treat me. Indulgence toward the imperfection of other people. Are we indulgent? What is indulgence? Do you guys remember what is this virtue? It's usually compared, very well connected to another virtue that we talk a lot in here, called compassion. Do other people have their issues? What are we supposed to do when we realize they have problems? To point the finger and say, look, you're doing wrong. Is this the way? Or to criticize, right? Turn the back and keep criticizing that person. Oh, you do this thing always wrong. I can't stand with someone because of. But indulgence is really realizing that the other person has issues as we do have, because we are imperfect as they are. And practicing again what Jesus taught us, if I don't want them to criticize on my back, why am I criticizing them on the back? Do to others what you would have them do to you. What about forgiveness? Is it easy to forgive?
It's to understand our faults and other people's faults, and understand their part of our way to become better persons.
It's a way to be a better person, because if you really think, if you are being benevolent and indulgent, would you really need to forgive someone? If you are fulfilling the two first, I am check, check. Oh, the other people might have something to say about me, but my conscience is crystal clear. I am fine because I did my best. I hard worked to do to others what I would have them do to me. And then forgiveness is usually something that happens when we lack of something. Lack of love, lack of benevolence, the lack of understanding the others, and then we do something to the other, and then the reaction, and then comes the disagreement, and then I don't forgive you anymore. But forgiveness is the real virtue that connects us to understand that, okay, someone has failed, and then I'm invited to understand indulgence now. Yes, the other person has failed, but he or her is not perfect. And I can't say nice words to people even though they don't treat me the best. I would love them. But I will not give bad answer just because I received a first attack. I won't react on the same way. And then everything starts getting smoother. Look what Kardec says in his comments about this specific question. Love and charity supplement the law of justice. As I mentioned before, the three walk together. They can't walk alone. Because loving our neighbors is to do them all the good possible. All that we would wish to be done to ourselves. Have we heard about this before today? Do them all the good possible, all what we would wish them to be done to ourselves. Do to others what you would have them do to you. Such is the meaning of Jesus' words. Love one another as brothers, which defines of the law of love. That's why it's impossible to unconnect this, because how can I do something to others that I would let them do to me if first I don't love myself? So I hate myself. How can I treat another person well? I can't, because I didn't even find love myself. And then it's a vicious cycle that totally brings me a part of this beautiful law: love, charity, and justice, which is the highest law. And still in this comment, Kardec remember us charity, according to Jesus, is not restricted to alms giving. Alms giving is smaller, but embrace all our relations with our fellow humans, whether in situations below, equal, or superior to our own. It orders us to be indulgent because we need indulgence ourselves. And it forbids us to humiliate the unfortunate, contrary to what is commonly practiced. Whenever wealthy persons seeks us out, we regard them with overabundance of consideration and attention. But whenever a poor person seeks us out, it seems like we don't want to be troubled by them. Have you ever seen this? Someone needing some help, and I don't have time. What is usually we do? Let's say someone comes and asks for alms, or trocado. What we do in this case, what Kardec's reminding us, we just give to get rid of that. Right? I don't have time for it, so I just give the money. And is it really what this person needs? There is a beautiful story about, in Brazil, a lady that was cleaning her front yard. And then in Brazil, you all know that we have those huge gates, so people can't get in your front yard. And then comes a little boy and asks, Tia, and do you have old bread, pão velho? And she answers, she sees the boy and looks, that's a little boy asking for food. And then she asks, what are you doing here? How old are you? And he answers, I'm 7. Aren't you supposed to be in school? And he answers, oh, my mom doesn't have money to buy the material, class stuff, so I can't go. And where is your mom? Well, she's also working, asking for help, as I am now, and my brothers are asking for our daily bread. And then the lady was very surprised with that, and she got really in pain. And then she answered him, well, you know what? I don't have old bread, but I have new bread. Can I give you new bread? And the boy was so happy that she talked with him, because usually just would give the old bread and don't bother me. He answers, no, Tia, no end. I appreciate you talking with me today. I don't need the bread anymore. That was enough for me. That was the only thing the boy was needing, someone to give him attention. And in the continuation of this, Kardec insists saying, however, the more pitiable the situation of the later, the more we should refrain from increasing their disgrace through humiliation. Those who are truly charitable seek the uplift, the self-esteem of those in lower positions. thereby diminishing the distance between both. Wasn't it that lady did with the little boy? I don't know what about you, but I work in a very big company, and there is a lot of hierarchies in the company, right? So these big companies usually full of the ego of people who are in the top of the hierarchies. And although they might be given some attention sometimes, they feel so good with this distance. I'm way better than you because I am the boss. But there are different people. There are people who really work in diminishing this distance. And I can assure you, were the people in the company that most touched me because they felt me feel like a human being and not just an asset of the company, as most of the companies still see all of us. You are just an asset. We're not just an asset. We're human beings that have emotions and have also free will. So with this said, it's always important to remind that although don't master yet charity, we have a wonderful guide, a wonderful way to target it without misunderstanding. We might misstep. That's okay. We are all apprentices. If we want to always do the right thing, always get to the target, that was when we are being perfectionists, and that doesn't help much us. But whenever we assume that, okay, I have a secure place where I can go and reflect a little bit more when I want to do or say that I am practicing charity, I really invite you all to open the Gospel according to Spiritism, chapter 15. Really. And if something annoys you, as it annoys me sometimes when I start reading and it's not great yet, I have to improve something. That's wonderful because I am developing discernment and realizing something that's not doing well. And I am having an opportunity to fix it. Instead of working my whole life missing the target. We have the question, and this is just part of the comment, the question 886 of the Spirit's book, that Kardec reflects beautifully in an answer, a very simple answer from the Spirits. Right? Benevolence to everybody, indulgence to imperfection of others, and forgiveness for those who have somehow threatened us. And with all this sums up what Jesus taught us. So in everything do to others what you would have them do to you. For this sums up the law and the prophets. And it's wonderful because we finished 10 minutes earlier, and now because we started with nice reflections about charity, I would love now to start hearing the reflections after we did all this study these reflections. What do you think about charity now, Mr. Senna?
I already had that part, not in the same, in the structure, the three words, right?
Mm-hmm.
What was the first one?
Benevolence,
Benevolence.
indulgence, and forgiveness. To make it easy in Portuguese, we call it the BIP. Benevolência, indulgência e perdão.
It's interesting, they're all connected, but the forgiveness can be, if you master the two, you don't really get there because you have nothing to forgive.
Mm-hmm.
Because you fully understand the other person's limit. So even if the person might hurt you, it doesn't matter because you truly know that it's not, the situation of the person.
Mm-hmm.
And they have issues like you do have your issues. So,
We all have.
yeah. But even though you don't, there's nothing to forgive, which is really interesting.
It's wonderful that
Yeah.
you're bringing this because sometimes we have already mastered some things, right? So let's use an example. So I learned how to drive, and so I drive more or less. But then I see someone drives really poorly, really bad. What does it has to do with charity when I start criticizing that person?
You were there before.
First of all,
Yeah.
exactly.
You were there. You didn't just build a car first date and you mastered everything.
Mm-hmm. But
So,
why do I criticize that person now? Because I feel like comfortable driving, right? And then I think the other person should be a great driver as I am, right? What does it call? This feeling. Pride. It's connected to selfishness, but it's really pride because I'm totally proud of my skills of driving, and I can't see other people driving poorlier than me. So everybody should be driving like me. And this is the really real invitation here, because when we realize that we have this selfishness which connect us to avoid the benevolence, I want to have everything to me, or selfishness is connected to lack of forgiveness, because, well, the other person made a mistake first, I won't forgive before he or her asks for sorry. And then comes the pride, because I am and the others are the others. There are studies that talk about how many times we use the word I in our sentences during the day. And believe me, by far it's the most used word. There is a guy called Dale Carnegie. I'm not sure if you ever heard about him. He's an important writer from back, I think, 20s, 30s. Yeah, there is the how to influence people and make friends, influence people. How to stop worrying and start living, stuff like this. Uh, I agree with some things that very nice. He's also Christian, by the way. Um, But there is one thing that his studies and understanding of people behavior, how people connect with each other, he says, if you read in this book how to make friends and influence people, he talks about exactly this. If you really want to catch people's attention, you should stop talking about yourself and listen to them. How many times in a conversation people start talking and then I do this. And then you start talking about yourself. And then the other person, look, I thought you were listening to me, but looks like you wanna show off, right? And again, it's not for nothing that in the gospel, according to Spiritism, the Spirit, I'm not sure which Spirit said that now. I'm sorry, but anyways, doesn't really matter. The two deep wounds, chagas, of the human beings or the humankind are selfishness and pride. And that for sure will disconnect us from the greatest or the highest law. That's for sure. Because if it's in the top of everything, if I can, for example, master discernment. I can't say that I master discernment. I have developed some discernment. I can still be lacking of a good understanding of charity or practice of charity. That's why we also always have to remind that the practice of virtues are always fully connected. As I develop one thing, I start seeing the importance of doing the other thing. As I'm starting to develop discernment, I'm saying, oh, I'm doing the wrong move here. Maybe I'm being too proud of myself. Maybe I am being selfish. And in the end, takes us apart of what would really be the real charity. What about you, Priscilla? What do you think about charity after we made these reflections?
Well, to be true, it helped me to understand a little more about charity. I would like to divide with you something to happen to me.
Right.
When I was back in Brazil a week before I came, you know, in Brazil you walk through the street and there's lots of people asking money, asking money. So we are trying to ignore it. Sometimes we hear, but not always. I was coming back from the bank because I was returning some money I needed cash to spend. I always take a little more. And when I was almost in my mom's house, she lives in front of the beneficence there, the hospital. There was a woman, some other woman next to her who we could see clearly that they had some kind of mental disability. She didn't move well, some kind of paralysis. And I was walking and she said, please, a coin, just a coin, please. I wouldn't ever stop because I don't want what money with my cell phone card. But I remember or something bees, and I asked, why do you need the money? And she take a piece of the box of the medicine and showing me, I needed this medication for her. They don't have here in the hospital. We don't have the money to buy it. She asked me for some coins, so I asked, how much was this medicine? And she said, 48.75. She say exactly, and then it's for the medicine really isn't for drugs, isn't for anything else. Then I remember going to bank and give her the money. She started crying. She really started crying. And oh, God bless you. So she was so happy, and I didn't feel happy. I feel kind of shamed, you know. I can't explain it, and I say goodbye, God bless you, and I was almost running home because something inside me didn't feel happy. I feel like I was doing so little. I feel so ashamed of myself, and the guy who keeps cleaning cars in the planning was started talking. You have to see, there's goodness in the world. I see a beautiful scene here. You have to hear. She gave the money for the woman body meds. And it made me even more ashamed, you know, and hear it now. I think I understand. It's because I wouldn't even hear, but something clicked and wow, what she wants. And later, I run away. I didn't talk to her. I didn't give her compassion. That's why I feel ashamed, because I gave her the money, also to leave her. But I didn't give her my time. My time was more precious, more important. You know, I think I understand. And I gone away feeling ashamed. That was not true charity. It was a kind of charity, but I didn't.
It was a start.
All I could do to her. That's why I think I was feeling ashamed.
Well, it's a point. It's a point. It was a beautiful action you did, for sure. You stopped to talk with her. Most of the people would give just a few coins to get rid of her and their uncle and keep walking. But at least you stopped and asked. And yeah, for sure it wasn't for nothing that you stopped, probably because spirits that were surrounding you at that moment knew that you were able to help her in her need, because really she really needed. And the feeling of guiltness, it's common in all of us, because it's a process of we're really realizing that sometimes we are not doing all the effort we do to develop something, either in ourselves or to help other people. And this is an important thing, because that's what we call the red sign of our conscious. So if something calling you, reflect. You did a good action. You could have done more. I don't know, maybe. It's an inner reflection. I can't tell you. It was beautiful action. There is nothing wrong to do it. And you helped someone that was in real need, right? It's just like someone asking, would give you an example. We were back in the past, we were in downtown, in a small room that we shared the common area for the studies. And in that small room, we were there for about a year. And we had a long day of work there. And then my wife Cynthia went out there was a nearby McDonald's. And she asked, there was some people, they were obviously on drugs, or they were out of their normal control. But they were asking for food, and they were coming back with some food, and she had a coffee as well. And then she decided, okay, I'm gonna give you this. Then, give you. That doesn't feel like doing the good, because we feel that that person is diminished, right? It's, as we saw in the reflection of Kardec, and the lower bottom sometimes seems to be so far of us. And when she gave this to her, she was so out of control that she got the coffee and threw on the wall and said a bunch of, like, totally out of control. because she was really asking for money from the drugs. So you see the difference. You stop and ask, what do you need? And you understand too. Then you saw by the price that she said that she was really need for that. That's a huge difference. And you already started now. And not saying that, okay, you did all the good, because your conscience made you still feel ashamed. So something else was lacking. And that's a deep inside of you reflection. I can't really tell you. What I can tell you again is it was a beautiful action. I think all of us agree here. It's a beautiful action what you did. Even the flanelinha said. But is there something else that your conscience is ringing the bell? Because
I understand today what it was. That was, I think, a little tear in my eyes because I didn't look in the eyes like I would do what any person I meet anywhere. I hear the but afraid, secret, like they are like me. I didn't look in the eyes when I'm talking. I didn't look in the eyes of the other person who I said to. That's what I understand. I did some kind of charity, but I didn't go all the way. I didn't treat them as good as they deserve while I helping them.
there you go.
That's
So
what they understood.
there you got what, because there was still that barrier. It was something that, okay, and they also want to give you something and get rid of. I have more stuff to do. And hey, we all try to do our best. And we are here for that, to reflect in our actions, to find out something that could have been done better. And next time, I will try to do better, right? Hello?
It's wrong.
It is wrong, I know.
It's not wrong.
Okay, we're ready here as well.
Okay.
You can come.
And we should also be thankful for the opportunity to see that, right? That we can do better next time. We always have it, but next time is everywhere.
Exactly. That's the apprentice feeling. That's what we call our minds a lot here. Because if we already keep thinking that we master things or we don't have time to waste on this type of reflection, we're lacking the opportunity of being seen. Yes, next time we can do that. Rapaz, cara. Nossa, tem boa. Uau! Primeira vez que ele vai passar.
All right. So let's say to everybody, what is the virtue of the month? Charity, that's it. And what means charity?
Care for other people.
Care for the people. That's great. What was the video that we watched today?
About the Good Samaritan.
Good Samaritan, right? Perfect.
All right. What is written there? Can you read for us?
Can you read for us? No? I help you. No?
What
So
about
what's
you,
the
David?
golden rule? Sophie knows the golden rule. What's the golden rule, Sophie?
Be treated as to be
Do to
Very
others.
close.
Do
give
to
to others to
what you would have them do to.
what you had them to do.
Yeah, and treat other people the way we like to be treated, right?
Stelina, which one you color?
Which one did Stella call
Which one, Stelina? The other side.
Yes.
Oh, I can see which one you
it? Yes,
did.
yes, see, let her come to the front. So
Okay.
show everybody which one you did, Stella. Yeah, you did one more. Yes.
Yeah, that's great.
What about
Excellent
you,
job.
Sophie?
And Sophie, which one did you call her, Sophie?
Oh,
And that
yeah,
one
too.
too, yeah.
Right?
Still,
Awesome.
Sophie there. Sophie. Good job, guys.
Very good.
And also, the kids want to invite you guys for the next week to the FSS event. They will have a surprise for you guys.
Yeah.
Wow. We'll have our lunch, Christmas lunch, so everybody's invited.
Yeah.
Just remind you guys that it's gonna be a little earlier, and it's not gonna be here. It's gonna be in a community center. Do you remember the name? St. Andrew. St. Andrew's High. It's close to the football stadium there.
Yeah.
And it's gonna start at 10, guys. That's important thing because we have to leave by 2:30 there. So we will start a little earlier, have enough time to have a nice feast, and it's gonna be a good day. Hopefully, what is known yesterday. It will. Is Santa Claus coming, Sophie?
Yes.
Yeah, he needs a lot of snow so his sled can slide, right?
If there's no snow,
If there's no snow, he gets stuck.
it won't get stuck.
Yeah. We
It
need the
will
snow.
get stuck.
Yeah, we need the snow so he can slide.
Você cuida dele enquanto a gente dá o passo?
Tranquilo.
Didi, vai com a Sossô. Vai. Vai falar. Ai, que lindo, tá vendo os carrinhos, né? Imagina que tá vendo. Sossô. All right, guys, we'll do our final prayer and our.
Who's gonna work with the classes?
What's that?
Who's gonna do the classes? I just know if I stay here or if I go.
We can do the three of us here. So if you wanna help with
Yes.
the admission, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
Yes, please. So it's okay. So let's close our eyes. And connect ourselves to our Supreme God, our Supreme Father, who keeps inviting us to do to others what we would have done to us. Can you feel His presence in your life? Can you feel the teachings of Jesus, the teachings of Kardec regarding charity? If you feel so, welcome this feeling and help yourself to keep working, because charity is one of the most beautiful virtues that will guide us to our mission, to find true happiness, to find our way beside the Father. Dear Father, we appreciate this opportunity of reflecting on such an important subject. May our lives in this special month be fulfilled of discernment, practicing the true charity, being benevolent to everybody, indulgent to the imperfections of others, and forgiving everyone. And so in this month, cultivating these feelings, we will enjoy a way better year in 2019. We ask our guardian angels to guide us, to enlighten our paths, so that we find more peace of conscience, more peace of mind. We also call all the family of the Fraternity Spiritist Society of Calgary to feel this beautiful moment that we are all feeling together, all the light, all the love we are sharing right now, touching every single house, every single member of this Spiritist Center, and every brother or sister in need in this wonderful town that welcomes us to be better beings. We will have a wonderful Sunday and enlightened week. So be it. Mr. Agora a gente vai ter um almoço. O cheiro tá bom. Tiramos um briguinho.
Obrigada.
Obrigado.